Metamorphosis of a Young Maiden. And think about this. Dr. William Patric Leedom is with us. He's written this book. And think about love letters. I was thinking about this the other day. How many people get love letters? How many people send love letters? How many people have those deeper conversations? This book centers around this relationship and the idea of these love letters from two people from years and years, decades ago, more than 4 decades ago. And it really, I think, makes you think about going all in. That's what I decided the other day. It makes you think about going all in a relationship. Dr. Leedom, thanks so much for coming on.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to speak with you.
So what made you decide, you know what, I'm going to put this in a book. I'm going to write about this in a book. What made you decide to do that?
Well, I have 4 thoughts on that. 1, I was motivated to put our love letters into a book commencing in 2017. 1, because my romantic involvement with Shelley was the greatest love affair in my whole life before or since. Number 2, because the narrative and the stories through the letters was powerful, because many of the letters were quite literary and poetic and together composed a fabulous story. 3, because the more I reread the letters, the more I wanted to honor what Shelley and I created, the deep feelings and thoughts that were generated as we reached out to each other, the exposure of our vulnerabilities, which we shared with each other as we built our relationship. And 4, pragmatically, because I was retired and had the time to devote to the project.
I like that. You're a pragmatic man. I can tell. It's like, hey, I had the time. Kate, come on. That's obvious. So, you know what? I can honestly say I don't have that in my life. I had wonderful experiences in being young and meeting great guys, etc., but not love letters. And it's still that lost art of love letters. So did you read them over and over again?
Yes. Well, yes, and part of it was when her husband died in May of 2013, I asked for her current address. I communicated with her, sent her a condolence and a check for $100, and then I got a beautiful letter back from her telling me how devastated she was. It wasn't supposed to happen this way, and she signed it, Love, Shelley. And I thought, well, we both do have love for each other. And so I wrote her a second letter, and I said, Shelley, I really care about you, and I care what happens to you. And I thought I shouldn't say anything more. Her husband just died. So I'm thinking that we might get back together, that somebody has to take care of her. And 10 minutes before my class in September, I got an email that she died of a heart attack.
Oh.
So that really threw me. I actually went to grief counseling. So then I got the letters out and started rereading them. And I thought, oh, boy, I need to do something with them.
And that also helped you do that. What's beautiful about that story for everybody listening, that it wasn't too late for you to reach out, because you reached out to her. And
yes.
And that was what was key. You made that connection. So what if you hadn't done that, which would be normal? Like, hey, condolences. You reached out. So there was that connection that you made, which is wonderful. And so everybody knows with this story, you did end up connecting. You did end up getting together, but then it didn't last very long because she was super young. And you were young. Both of you were young, right?
Well, she was 19 and I was 29.
Yeah. And so it just didn't work at the time, right?
Right, correct. Now we did reconnect in 18 years later, because I was doing my doctorate at the University of Cincinnati, and I was tasked with meeting with people who had a bachelor's degree, but it wasn't in teaching, and I was to advise them how many more courses would they need to take to be a teacher. So she came in to see me, and it's the first time I'd seen her in 18 years. It was very pleasant, and I told her what I told almost everybody, 2 more years of courses. Well, she and her husband had an option on a church camp conference center in North Carolina, so she and her husband chose that option rather than her becoming a teacher.
Wow, interesting!
But it was a conference center where I also went, so we reconnected and had a beautiful friendship for, 12, 14 years. I did not see her the last 8 years of her life. So her sister-in-law, who lives a mile from me, informed me that her heart really went bad. She was on a heart transplant list. And then for some reason they took her off, and then she died.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this book is so powerful. I think it's that collection of love letters and the example of what being vulnerable and being and taking that risk with a partner and saying what you really, really feel and what you think, and then really encouraging the other person. And that part is just tremendous to me. What do you hope people take away from reading Metamorphosis of a Young Maiden, which you can get on Amazon, by the way?
I have 3 thoughts on that. I believe our book portrays a version of love between a man and a woman that letter by letter, as we each revealed more of our inner feelings and thoughts, and we found the safety of acceptance from our partner, we were then encouraged to go deeper and reveal more and more of ourselves. Secondly, certainly in the process of writing, one is encouraged to carefully choose words and phrases that one just speaking together does not usually bring forth. I know for myself, I thought deeply about the struggle Shelley was experiencing, and sharing with me caused me, as a 10-year older person, more experienced man who had already been married and divorced, to reflect on what I could communicate to Shelley, that I accepted her just as she was. Our third thought is also our story might, quote, light the way to deeper love and connections, unquote, even between married couples. I did write a paragraph in the book where I reflected that our lengthy and intense letters brought out so many more thoughts and feelings, those kinds that help partners to really get to know the other in ways that I doubt come up when couples just see each other and talk.
Yeah, there you go. That every day that you keep getting on the hamster wheel and going round and round. Dr. William, that's so true, right? And that's so get out of that. Get out of that. That's really what the book is saying. Dr. William Patric Leedom, the book is called Metamorphosis of a Young Maiden. Boy, I think a lot of people could have their eyes open. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Wow, so powerful in, and I kept saying that over and over again. I mean, just imagine. And this book centers around with these love letters from 1969 through 1970, like December of 69 through June 1970. So it's just that short period, but it shows, and that's why the title is so good. It shows how she started to trust him, and then what that was like, and it's just a great example of what were so many of us, I think, and he said it. So many of us are missing in relationships, because it is that every day, let's say you're already in it, it's that every day where you keep going through over and over the same thing, the circle, and there is something about love letters. And I was looking up even some of the best love letters ever written, and he would know too, in looking at famous people, let's say, like people talk about Napoleon to Josephine, that he was this, the small ruler who definitely had a softer side because he was vulnerable, which is what he talks about in his book. So you think of some of the nasty things about Napoleon, but boy, when it came to his wife and when it came to what he was writing to her, there's even a line where he says, "Since I left you, I've been constantly depressed. My happiness is to be near you. Incessantly I live over in my memory your caresses, your tears, your affectionateness, etc." So interesting. Another one is Frida Kahlo to Diego Rivera, and they went back and forth, and they had such a tumultuous relationship anyway. They were both artists, and that the fact is that they went back and forth, and in a 27-year span of that relationship, they shared so much in these love letters. And I think with Dr. Leedom bringing it back to Metamorphosis of a Young Maiden, that's exactly that's exactly what they did. And he said about the 10-year gap and the differences in them, but how they had this strong letter writing that really, really connected them. The love letters, just so interesting. And it's something to think about for men and for women out there. All right, thanks so much for listening to this version of the show. Make it count, everybody. Maybe you'll write a letter. Who knows?